What's going on, Flix Talkers? Welcome back to another video. We have something special here. I got two awesome Marvel guys, and the reason why I wanted to pick these guys out, mainly because I've worked with these guys before, but Elliot, he does a lot of reviews on his channel. He does a lot of breakdowns. He's done his own video, review, spoiler-free review on Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and you've even done some spoiler reviews as well. And Big J, I believe you're a comic guy, right? You're more of like the comic guy. I think
I'm the old guy that still read comics.
yeah. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Elliot. Do you read a little bit of comics and know a little bit about this comic lore on this guy?
I used to read comics a lot. I don't get the opportunity to read them as much as I did when I was younger. But as far as like Shang-Chi in regards to just vaguely heard of the character, but didn't know him as much as I do some of the other characters in the Marvel like comics.
Okay, cool. So it'll be good to hear, kind of pick your guys' brains, because I always talk about that I never read the comics. I always just collected the actual comic book cards and whatnot. But this is a character that I was totally introduced to with fresh eyes, and I think most of us were, and we didn't know too much about this character other than this movie was kind of being introduced as more of like an all Asian, for the most part, cast. Numbers have come out this past weekend that have kind of blown people away. Are you guys excited? We'll start with Big J. With the kind of amount of money that this is making for a new character like this.
Yeah, like I think most of us are excited because it kind of means that movies that we are hoping will come out in the cinemas now have a chance to come out. We saw with Venom that they already like put it a week ahead because it's giving confidence, and I think that's the best thing out of this. Even if you don't like the movie, this means that all the movies we were expecting now have a chance to come out because it shows that people want to go to the cinema. People want to go and watch these movies. And this is the kind of movie you have to watch in the cinema. It's not the same thing if you watch it at home. So I'm just excited for that. I think it's great for movies that it's doing really well. I was able to watch it a week before it came here. That was like 2 weeks before it came in the United States.
Yeah.
Because we got like a press screening. So, and usually the Marvel movies come a week before in Europe. So I was able to watch it in the IMAX. It was really good.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I watched it in IMAX as well. Elliot, I believe you got a chance to check this one out in IMAX a week ahead as well, right? Or
Similar to Big J. I was able to get a press screener, and it was a what kind of screening? It was something out here like DX something screen that's like out here in my market. That it was fully immersed in the experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, is that the moving chairs? Is that the chairs that move
no,
around?
It's something else. D that's like a full immersive, but it doesn't have no chair shaking or water spraying or anything like that. But it was a good screen to see it on for sure.
I know exactly what Big J is talking about, and I went through one of those, and it was really bad. I did not like it.
I hate it. I went with my daughter to watch some Fast and the Furious. And the whole time is the chairs going like, oh my God, I got so annoyed. Yeah, it's horrible.
Now, let me ask you, Elliot, really quick, because Big J had said, this is a movie you got to see in theaters. Now, if people don't know, you get a lot of screeners where you kind of got to watch it at home or on your computer screen. Is this one that you had to watch in theaters too? Are you appreciative you watched it in theaters first?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, a lot of studios are not mandating, but a lot of studios aren't really giving out like screeners for like the last like maybe 4 or 5 months. Like they like just as much as they want people to go to theaters to see, only in theaters, they're doing the same thing with a lot of press screenings. So like my like last like 4 or 5 screenings I've been to have like exclusively been in theaters only, and no screener links. That goes for Disney. Warner Brothers has been doing that recently. So yeah, a lot of these studios are like wanting people to experience, because it is part of the experience. When you're reviewing something, the sound, the picture, and all that. So yeah, I was able to see it in theaters, and a lot of studios, like I said, are allowing people to see it in theaters and not just on the convenience of their TV screens or phones or whatnot.
Yeah, and I think this only in theaters thing, especially for a movie like this, really, I mean, it performed more than what I think a lot of people were. Even Simu Liu, he even posted on his Instagram in the stories all of these thumbnails from YouTube saying, is this movie a flop? This movie flopped. Like basically all the thumbnails that are like the eye grabbers that were kind of predicting that this movie was going to fail. And he just put a big LOL across that. I'll see if I can maybe throw that screen up or whatever. I just thought it was funny because he's someone, I don't know if you saw, he actually started from like stock photo. Like he was doing stock photo modeling.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
basically, like, taking pictures like thumbs up with like just random stock photo stuff. And then now he's at where he's at. We know that he's done stunt work and whatnot. So I think he's still someone that's young enough to embrace the meme of like someone trying to make fun of a movie like this or hoping it flops. You have a lot of young cast through it, but I'm glad it succeeded the expectations of most people. But let's just get directly into this, guys. If you don't know, if you guys clicked on this by accident, we are talking specific spoilers only on this channel. So everybody here, I'll leave all your links down in the description below if you guys want to check out Big J as well as Movie Files, his breakdowns, spoiler free. But today we are talking spoilers once again. So let's just go over your overall thoughts. Big J, what was your overall score and thoughts on something like this, Shang-Chi?
I was just like, I think this is probably the first movie like from Hollywood that I'm able to see that the fight choreographies are well done. Like that scene, a lot of it reminded me the old Jackie Chan movies because it's not like shaky cameras and cuts that you can't figure out what they're doing. It's obvious that the main actor at least knows how to fight. He has martial art background, and I think that was something that would be completely ridiculous if they pick someone that can do that. And I felt that problem when I watched Snake Eyes, that they like. They get a guy to play a role that is not fit to play it, and then you have to use a mask or cut it or whatever. Here, it was just obvious that they picked the right person to do it. So I thought the movie was like when I went to see it, because I'm like you said, I'm a big comic book guy, and Shang-Chi was always one that was more like the Bruce Lee of the Marvel. It's something a little bit smaller. It's not. I wasn't expecting it to be so much of world building, how it was, how big it was, because the last part of the movie when they go into this other world, we saw something that we never saw in Marvel before, and I was excited about that. It's a whole new world. We have now the magic world with Doctor Strange. We have the I can't remember now the one of Ant-Man, the
Quantum Realm.
quantum realm. So we starting to get this, and we with Shang-Chi we got something completely different, and that it felt different because of the fight choreographies, because of how it was filmed, the cinematography, everything. So I was really excited to bring this. I'm always more excited when they bring these characters that we never saw on the screen than to get, like, to be honest, than getting 5-6 movies of Batman or Spider-Man. And so I was really excited about this, and I think that's part why we enjoy it so much, me and my daughter, when we went to see it.
Yeah, you guys both enjoyed it. You guys gave it a 4.5
I gave
out of
it
5.
Yeah, I gave it a 4.5, and Jasmine, like, she gave it a 5. She was completely like wowed with it. She's like, she just couldn't like take her eyes out of it. She's really into like arts and really into like culture, mythology, and stuff. So everything there was just like something that was her cup of tea. And to be honest, I didn't give it a 5 because I still have some issues with Awkwafina. Like, she's like, sometimes she's like, and that situation of like the guy that learns martial arts in 5 minutes and beats someone that trained all their life. If you saw the movie, you know what I'm talking about, with that bow and arrow that she saves everyone in the end. And I'm just thinking, there's so many guys there that have been practicing all their life. Why does he have to be her? But it was just that small thing that's, if I had to pick on something, that was it.
Yeah, totally agree. Elliot, now you kind of gave it a little lower score. Do you want to let people know, you kind of your overall thoughts, how the movie kind of left you after leaving the theater?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was still, it was close to a 4 for me, but I think I had a little bit more issues with just kind of the crafting of the narrative. Just didn't really stick the landing for me in regards to some of the stuff with Shang-Chi and his dad never were resolved to me. Like, they never really had that heart to heart before he died. Even so, his sister didn't really have any interaction with her dad at all. And her whole thing was like, she's wanted to be her own woman and be her own. Obviously, she has her own underground fight. Now she has the 10 rings under her belt, but she never really had that moment with her dad. So I feel like there was just moments that I wish would have been in the film that were, unfortunately, I know I'm probably in the minority in regards to, I did not like the I understand why Trevor was in the film, and of course, to obviously he's not the Mandarin and whatnot, but I thought he was in the film way too much, and that to me, that Marvel comedy doesn't work for me. Kind of like Guardians type of thing where everyone's funny, and Trevor comes to the mix and took up a lot of the screen time for his sister and the development I was looking for. But neither here nor there in regards to excitement level for this film and what it ultimately did land on. What I love what Marvel's been able to do in the last 13 plus years, they play in the subs, like obviously they're comic book movies, superhero movies, action movies, or what have you, but then they add in the subgenre, right? We get this Winter Soldier with the spy espionage, same with Black Widow. We get the, intergalactic stuff with the Guardians. We get, we mentioned Ant-Man earlier, heist film. So I love when they put in these like subgenres within these genres that we're known for. And this one, martial arts, finally being implemented in the MCU, was so cool to me because I grew up in, watching martial arts, took martial arts when I was younger. So seeing them play within that genre and actually stick that landing and be better than, some of the more big blockbuster, whether it be Mortal Kombat or Snake Eyes, being able to really resonate with the karate and really, come to fruition of really offering that new type of subgenre within the MCU was really what I was wowed by. And I thought the choreography was incredible. And I do wish, we'll talk about third act a little bit later, I wish more of the hand-to-hand personal fighting was more involved versus the more mythical 10 rings, dragons, CGI type of stuff kind of overwhelmed that third act. And I really want it to be a little bit more intimate, very similar to like a Civil War type of fight where it wasn't all big spectacle. It was literally just three guys duking it out for survival. I wish we would have got that in the third act, but neither here nor there. It really did wow me in regards to the fights that we did get in the film.
Now, let me ask you, Elliot, because you had said that you grew up on Mortal Kombat and whatnot. Now, we did get Mortal Kombat. We did get Snake Eyes, two movies that really weren't, they were kind of panned from most people. I mean, I liked Mortal Kombat. It was okay. It was definitely better than the one we got back in the 90s, I thought. So do you think those movies, so close to this movie coming out, and people were like, oh, finally martial arts, Marvel budget, fresh faces, they're executing it a lot better. Do you think kind of seeing those last couple of not so well done movies kind of was a little more refreshing to kind of, walking out of the theater maybe?
Yeah, and even so more with Mortal Kombat, I was really a little bit disappointed with that because we mentioned earlier that they, Simu Liu is a, stuntman and he has his, his hands in martial arts. And that was like the whole thing with Mortal Kombat. More like half of the cast were people that were actually, invested in martial arts. And we the beginning of that film was fantastic. That was the best action fight in the entire film. But as far as I think this film definitely, the money, the attention to detail, the, paying homage to other, great martial arts films. There's a lot of Jackie Chan moments, a lot of, the stunt work in there reminded me a lot of that stuff. So I think this film definitely kind of stuck the landing when it came to fulfilling the martial arts being implemented in the MCU for the first time.
Let's talk about a character that you did kind of touch on a little bit, the Mandarin. So Ben Kingsley's the Mandarin. Big J, what did you think? And I mean, going back to even like the comics and whatnot, and his, the Iron Man stuff. What did you think of the first introduction? I mean, I know it's more comical and stuff like that, and they kept him in a layer. What did you think of the Mandarin overall in this movie?
Like the Mandarin in the comics is one of my favorite villains of all of the villains. I think he's just so cool. Like the powers, the whole like mythology behind it. So when I saw it in Iron Man, yeah, I was disappointed because, but I think that Marvel did what they do well is they like sometimes they might not hit things right at the first time, but they found a really good way to go around it. And I think what they did with that short movie that I can remember the name now, they did like that short.
All Hail the King. Yeah.
So when they did that short movie, they kind of like try and fix things a little bit. And when I saw the trailers, I'm going to be honest, when I saw the trailers of this movie of Shang-Chi, I wasn't happy because like for me, the rings were the rings on his fingers and not those rings around his arms. So I was really like annoyed that they were going to do that. And then the reason people were saying, oh, because the rings are very similar to the Infinity Stones, and that's why they did it. I still wasn't having any of it because that's not a justification. But what they did in the movie, how he used the rings that are around his arms, like in the final fight where he puts it like kind of like a ladder that he can step on it and use it as a fight and use it to grab stuff. I thought it was incredible. I thought they did a really good job, and probably it worked even better than if he kept it to the original. And like, I just think they did the perfect casting there. From all the castings, I think the Mandarin this time is like the perfect casting. If you see movies like In the Mood for Love and stuff like that, this is an amazing actor, and I think he did what a great villain needs to do. He made us care about him, like the part that he changes because of love, and then when he loses this love, he just goes completely berserk. I think that's what like a good villain usually has, is something that we kind of can understand his pain and stuff. And I, for one, like I liked the part that his daughter never had the closure, because if she had the closure, it would be a little bit more annoying for me if she then would continue the bad ways of her father that we see now in the after credit scene. Because then she didn't have that closure, she probably is going to continue doing the same mistakes of the father. And I thought that was really well, like not it's not something I'm excited to see, like the 10 rings now under her command, because I think there's a lot of underground groups of villains now, like we saw in Black Widow, we have Hydra, we have, so it's not something I'm really excited. But at the same time, I thought that she now has space to grow because she didn't have that closure, so I enjoyed that part.
Definitely. Elliot, so what did you think of the Mandarin overall in this movie?
Yeah, and just a quick rebuttal to Big J, because I'm excited to learn more about her and see where they go with her. What I meant by closure was I would actually, to get a little bit more dark, because it seems like she's going to be probably one of the villains, if not the main villain of a sequel of a Shang-Chi. But I would have loved her to be the one that maybe has the final blow to kill her dad, and kind of just like, all those years you neglected me, now look what happens. And then that's where she kind of gets that type of, quote unquote closure, kind of in her mind, like I defeated the guy that like ignored me my entire childhood. But we'll see what they do with her. But in regards to the Mandarin, well, I guess we should say Wenwu, because he did not want to go by the Mandarin. That was a name that Kingsley gave him to mock this folklore that they didn't know existed, but really did. But in regards to Wenwu, I think, as Big J said, to me, it's hard to even call him a villain, because just like a Killmonger, just like in a sense of a Thanos, or even Vulture, some of my favorite villains in MCU, quote unquote villains, they're the heroes of their own story. Like he never, and technically we really didn't see him. Yes, he killed the guy for killing his, but we really didn't see him do like villainous things in regards to, yes, he was a conqueror of many years, but I think that he, in his mind, he was, doing the thing that, and that's another thing too about learning more about the rings. Did it corrupt him? Where did he get the rings from or whatnot? But I think that he was just fantastic, not just, like I said, from a villain standpoint, but from a character standpoint. I think he's one of the most layered, complex characters that we've gotten in the MCU, especially in Phase 4 so far. So I thought that Wenwu was like incredibly done. The only issue I have with the character is not really the actor, Tony Leung, or how they wrote him, but Marvel Phase 1 mistake. Why kill him off at the end of the film? That to me was just like, again, we know what Loki offered with variants is probably another version of him that we might get, as we're going to get with Kang. But I just wish that there was maybe a way to, even though I mentioned the daughter killing him, I wish there was a way to still have him be in the MCU some way, somehow. And, we'll see what the future holds. But besides that, I thought that Wenwu was an incredible character and really fleshed out, the story that we got with his father, son, and their dynamic and all that stuff, and the family drama that the film added.
I think it was the acting between the father and son that really kind of pushed me watching this more. It was very believable. But I kind of wish that Wenwu would have showed a little more emotion. I mean, the love of your life is gone, and that was his whole motivation that was his changing force. He changed a lot of things because of that. He put down the rings at one point, where he locked them away because of that. But when she ultimately died, I really didn't even see a tear. They were kind of crocodile tears to me. If I would have saw a little something like a Daniel Day-Lewis, who would have probably forced more tears out, a little more believable. It would have been a little more believable. That's why I was telling Big J I might have to rewatch this again, and my score might change on something like this, because initially coming out, I was just so excited. You know what I mean?
The only thing I will say to that point too, with the whole death of his wife, I found a little bit convenient that he has been conquering for thousands of years. So we know that he's come across many different probably beings and entities and all that stuff. And the trope of like a whispering entity whispering in his ear to convince him to go to Tylo was a little bit too convenient to me. Like this guy is a conqueror. It would be like if Thanos was just someone was on his shoulder whispering in his ear like death in the comics. But it just to me was a little bit too convenient that his whole thing of like being around this earth for so long that he just believed this thing. And plus the film showed us in the movie, he's been researching Talo for like, I don't know how long. So I would have assumed that he would have known of some type of dark entity that has mind control, that plays into your demons and plays into your deeds. But he was just so easily fooled into like, well, it's my wife. And just like him just believing that to me was a little bit too convenient. I wish there was a little bit a different explanation of why he wanted to go to Tylo based in the film. It could have just been he purely just wanted to take over, as his initial thing was going to Tylo was to conquer it. But then the whole whispering of the deeds and that stuff to me was a little bit too convenient.
The thing for me is we don't know if the first time that he goes there is for the same reason. He might have been like having the whispers before even knowing the woman that then he falls in love, because he for some reason wants to go there. And we know that he wants to go there, and he knows that there's something there that he needs to conquer, but we never know how he knows that. So the thing is, this might have been an entity that's been for a long time trying to control him to go there. But then when he goes and he meets his wife, like love conquers all, and then he puts the rings down. So for me, it was never a problem, because I always thought, and even the thing like that you were saying that him not crying. For me, it was completely like he completely fitted, because when his wife died, he died. He became a monster. He became something that's dead inside. So there's no tears because there's nothing. Without her, he doesn't have a human side. And that's what I always thought with that character, that before he met her, he never had a human side. He just destroyed and conquered anyone that came in his way. So when she's gone, again, he doesn't have a human side. So tears come from the human side, from the emotions, and he doesn't have them. And I think that's why, for me, it was so convincing that that guy would just like do anything to bring his wife back. And he would even believe, because that's the thing, like when you lose someone, if someone comes to you and says, oh, there's a small chance of getting that person back, there's always going to be something in your mind that you're going to say, well, am I not going to do it? Am I like, he could try and ignore that and not be his wife, but at the same time, he might think, well, but if it is. And I think that was what he was able to bring to the table, because that part of Tony Leung in the end, when he's like breaking the wall, there's parts there that you kind of feel that he doesn't believe that she's there. But at the same time, there's, even if there's like a tiny bit of hope, he doesn't care if the world gets destroyed. He just wants to get to her. So I thought that was what was stronger in the movie, was that like part of the love story and the relationship with the kids and how he was able to sacrifice everything. For me was, but that's like, I'm a romantic, so
no, I hear you, man. And to be honest with you, Big J, the stuff you just pitched to me, and to me, you conveyed that more so than the film did for me personally, because I thought that the origin of the beginning of the movie is showing him conquering, number one, the legend of the 10 rings. And I know this is Marvel, they set up things. We really didn't get the legend of, like, we don't know where he got the rings from. We don't know if he ever, of course, like we're saying, we're assuming this is his first love because he put the rings down, but we really didn't know, okay, where does he come from? Where does he lie from? Where does his land from? And we never really got that. So I think, like, to your point, obviously us seeing so many films, we can kind of put the pieces to the puzzle together and kind of make up our own, kind of like, oh yeah, this is probably what they were trying to convey. But to me, I'm one of those, like, I want to see that versus just kind of making it up and just assuming that was the case there. But I wish we would actually maybe have seen that when he was a young man before he came across 10 rings, maybe in some way his new wife resembled her. And that's, he never wants to lose the love like he did when he was a kid or lost his mom or whatever the case may be. And I wish we would have got that more of that narrative to see why is he so gun hungry and control hungry and conquering all this stuff. We never really got that from Wenwu, which again, there's future. As you mentioned, Big J, with the Mandarin, they always that's the beauty of Marvel. They can always fix their mistakes. Maybe we'll get, a origin of a sorts, or hear another story of a Wenwu, a variant version of him that has a different story. But, we'll see.
But in the after credits scene, they kind of show us that we're gonna see where the rings
Oh
come
yeah,
from.
definitely. Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
we're gonna have more of where the rings come from and
Yep.
maybe
Yep.
develop there.
Very interesting thoughts, guys. And Big J, you took the words out of my mouth. I was thinking the same thing. Love conquers all, that part did suck me in. To if you do hear that voice in your head, there's a little glimmer of hope. But I was at the same time, I was thinking like he can't be that naive to think that something evil is not going to unleash. But let's jump to another character that I don't see too many people talking about, but we are introduced to him in the first big fight, which is great because I love that huge bus scene. It's Razer Fist. So I don't know much about this. We'll start off with Elliot this time. Do you know much about like the comic lore or any of this character behind the scenes?
He's one of those kind of obscure, like if you see like the comic book accuracy, like the costume that he has, he looks pretty ridiculous. But as far as Razor Fist in this film, honestly, I didn't really care for the character. I really honestly wish that the Death Dealer character was in replace of Razor Fist and was kind of like more connected to Shang-Chi in regards to this is the guy that trained him when he was a kid. It's the guy that tortured him to become this killer that his father wanted him to be. I could have went completely without Razor Fist and more of Death. Number one, Death Dealer looked awesome as a visual character. And then number two, he was a badass. So I wish that, and the way they killed him that was a little bit kind of like, again, Marvel sometimes like gets ahead of himself in regards to introducing characters and letting them go too soon. But I honestly did not really care for Razor Fist, and I just could have took Death Dealer in all those moments that Razor Fist got and just give it to Death Dealer, him being the one chasing the guy that he trained to be a killer. So
very interesting thought. I kind of forgot about Death Dealer for a second until I pull him up right now.
It was like that character was so cool.
And that was a fantastic fight that had, because I watched it in IMAX as well. So on the side of the building, incredible. That was visually amazing.
I have to agree with Elliot that when like they killed the guy, and I was thinking, why didn't they kill this one?
Exactly.
Like this one is annoying, but the other one is cool. That I have to agree with Elliot. I would have changed that, at least kill Razor Fist because he wasn't the best character there. Yeah, Razor Fist, I was surprised that they picked because, like Elliot said, it's kind of an obscure character, and it's not one that it's one that even in the comics they look stupid. It's like it's a guy with no hands and has this knife, so it's a bit. I was surprised they picked that one, but the fight scenes were cool. I have to say that fight scene. But honestly, I thought that was all we were going to see was him in that bus, and he would probably die there, and we would not see him anymore. I was surprised how much he showed up in the movie. But one thing I want to talk, it's not a character that show up, but I'm curious to know if I'm the only guy, and Marvel has been doing this to us now. Am I the only guy that thought behind that gate he would come Mephisto? Because I was the whole movie thinking, like when they were saying, "Oh, there's the hell behind that gate," and all those demons. I was the whole time, "Oh my god, I can't believe we're gonna get Mephisto here," and no one was thinking about it. And then we didn't again.
After WandaVision and the whole Mephisto fiasco, I think that we're going to get him sooner rather than later, more so in like a Doctor Strange type of thing. And then honestly, I don't think that they'll do like a straight up Mephisto, this devilish type of character. Again, Disney, toys, kids, market shares and all that. I think they're going to combine Mephisto's origins and mix her in with a little bit of Nightmare and kind of just like Wenwu's not a character from the comics. Like they took the Mandarin's backstory and the idea of Shang-Chi's father in the comics and mushed the characters together. So I think they're going to make Mephisto into a different character. If we'll inevitably see him, but I just don't know if they'll go the whole route of this devilish, hellish being. But who knows? We'll see with Marvel. They've been getting dark lately with What If and cartoons and people dying. So I don't know. Marvel might be looking for a new way to like open up the more darker sides of these stories.
I don't know much about Mephisto at all, so this is all like new stuff to me. So Big J kind of talked about a little bit. He had his gripes with Awkwafina. Elliot, did you have any gripes with Awkwafina's performance in this? Did they go too far with her comedic stuff, or?
What I'll say about the Katie character and what actually I appreciate about it, first and foremost, I think that they will be inevitably a romance. But I did like, at least for this first film, that it just showed you can have a guy and a girl, straight male, straight female, and not be like a love interest. Because one thing that Marvel has dropped the ball at, for me personally, is the love interest, whether it be Jane Foster, even to a certain extent. Like I think that Pepper Potts is kind of like a throwaway love interest. I think Peggy Carter is probably the strongest. Okoye also too. But normally when it comes to Marvel and love stories, it kind of gets convoluted and just gets ridiculous. So I actually like that they were just friends, and inevitably they'll probably get together. We'll see. But I did like that they kind of kept that there. And also Katie played against stereotypes, right? You know, in the Asian community, you know, we saw that she was a pretty good driver. And it was the joke out there is like Asians can't drive and all this stuff. So he played against the stereotypes there. And again, the stereotype of a man and woman can't be in a friend. So I actually like how Marvel handled this co-lead that was a female, and not just going the traditional damsel in distress, or, you know, she can't fend for herself, or she's in love with this guy. So I actually like that element. As far as like Awkwafina in the role, she was fine. She didn't, you know, I know some people, she doesn't really work for some people. Some of the jokes maybe don't land, but I thought that she was fine. I do think that they, as Big J talked about earlier, I thought that they gave her way, like the fact that she was able to kill the dragon was a little bit kind of a far stretch. That should have been Michelle Yeoh's character, or should have been Shang-Chi's sister that did it, or the guy that trained her how to shoot the arrow. But that was like her hero moment, because I assume they're going to use Awkwafina, Katie, as someone, you know, moving forward in the MCU, probably even maybe separate from Shang-Chi, and get a Disney Plus series. We'll see.
Yeah, the Big J's so right. They trained her in 5 minutes, and she was able to take down the dragon.
But that's something in so many movies now. They can't complain. But it starts with everything. It starts with him like, oh, I'm gonna go and see my sister. She might be in danger. Someone wants to kill her. So do you want to come with me? Like, no.
Yeah, I would like, see you later. I'll see you when you get back. Let me know how it plays out. Good luck with your family.
Like when she says, oh, I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go home and be back. If he was a real friend, he would have gone right away. So, but that's something, look, if we're going to complain about things like that, we're not going to watch any movie, because all of them do it, and all. You have to set up things. And but I have to say, the other thing I was a bit disappointed, because they made such a big noise in the trailer, was the Abomination fight. Kind of lasted 10 seconds.
Short. That was shoehorned in. That was MCU shoehorning that.
I would say, let's talk about that, because that was on my brain, guys. So the Marvel cameos, so Wong and Abomination. So Big J. So what are your thoughts on the big ones that we got, Abomination and Wong?
I don't know. I like, unless they explain a little bit better in the future why the hell Wong is in the underground fights. He was just completely out of like anything we saw before of Wong. So for me, that is like, I give them some benefit of the doubt, because they've been doing a good job up to now to explaining stuff. But having that bit there, and then in the end, understanding the Abomination was working with him. So because they were saying, oh, next time you don't need to so hard. So that means that he was kind of fake. That means Abomination is working with Wong. So he's not a villain. So there's a lot of stuff there that I wanted to know what the hell was going on. So, and because in the trailer they had that bit, I was expecting a bit more, and it just was like over like that.
Yeah. How about you, Elliot? What did you think of those?
Yeah, I thought that was just completely just like MCU. And again, fan service can be used, you know, to the fullest. And we're fans. This is the first time we saw Abomination since 2008. So it was cool to be like, oh, at least the character's still out there. And I think the next appearance from Abomination will be from the She-Hulk series, which I hope, to Big J's point, that they explain. I've been thinking this whole time that he's been in the rift from General Ross, where he puts all the max security villains in that rift that we saw in Civil War and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm not really sure what that's leading to. I think I saw, was it yesterday or today, there was an article or a theory out there that ties into Spider-Man, which might explain it, that where Wong, like where he was walking back into the little cave or whatever, where he was almost like a dog to Wong. But some people are speculating that that's where they might be holding the Sinister Six when Doctor Strange, if that is the theory and the storyline, that he's going to want to collect all the Sinister Six and he's going to put them in like this kind of his own little prison. Maybe that's where Abomination's been. And maybe, you know, that's like their supernatural, you know, if the government can't hold them, we're going to hold them. And maybe that's why Wong's been working with Abomination, which again, why are they training and fighting? Again, hopefully, like Big J said, Marvel tends to give us explanations, not just throw things at us and never address it again. So that's what I'm hoping. And whatever the case may be, I'm excited to see more of Abomination, because hopefully that brings out the Hulk, because I think the Hulk is one of the weakest characters in Marvel, in the MCU, because they just completely downgrade that character since Avengers. So hopefully the Abomination can step the Hulk's game up.
Yeah, and that's a good segue into our post-credit scenes. So last but not least, guys, let's get into these post-credit scenes because I would love to hear your guys' thoughts, especially you guys that really break down MCU movies and different tidbits like really, really good, better than I can. But the first post-credit scene. So just like in origin fashion, I mean, we get our introduction like welcome to the club. Other than, besides seeing like Nick Fury or whatever, we got Wong saying, welcome, with Captain America. And then we got a, Hulk in human form, which everyone was like, why is this happening? I know you had talked about it, Elliot. So let me get your thoughts first, Elliot. What did you think about that first post-credit scene?
Yeah, I mean, again, I just think I understand that Marvel doesn't have the rights or MCU doesn't have like the full rights to the Hulk, but I just feel like the Hulk's a joke at this point. But neither here nor there. Seeing Mark Ruffalo in his human form, I'm assuming again with She-Hulk, because he's going to be in that show, that they're going to explain that him and the Hulk are finally come to some type of agreement in regards to, is he Hulk? Is he Professor Hulk? Is he Bruce Banner? We'll see. But it was cool to see Brie Larson as Captain Marvel because I'm a big fan of Destin Daniel Cretton, the director of this film, and she's been in like all of his films. So from Just Mercy to 12 Short Term 12. So it's great to see their collaboration continue to go. And again, I thought it was kind of funny that she is like, as she did in Endgame. I got to deal with my other stuff, which we know that she's handling a lot of stuff in the outer realms of the world. But it was cool to see those characters. But in regards to the implications of what did Wong find, this beacon, where is it signaling out to? Where is it shouting out to? I initially, for some reason, because especially when we saw those dark, demented, demon-like creatures, like literally a week before the film came, or like 2 weeks before the film came out, we got the Eternals trailer and they showed the Deviants. And I'm like, oh, this kind of might tie into that, because in that trailer it alluded to the emergence and everything with the snap, and the Deviants are making their way to Earth. So I'm thinking that maybe this might connect to the Eternals, and luckily in 2 months we'll be seeing that. I don't think it's a coincidence that this film came before the Eternals, so it might be some connection there. And then not being too familiar with Shang-Chi, I know that there's a controversial character that they really didn't want to implement because it has a lot of stereotypes in the Asian community. The Fang Fu character, which is a dragon. That's a villain of Iron Man, and apparently this dragon ties origins into the Ten Rings, which comes from another planet, another universe, and they might invade Earth. So that might be something too. But I'm leaning towards the Eternals and having some connection to the Deviants.
Okay. I also thought it was cool that they did kind of mention, they didn't mention the snap really, but they did show it on the flyers. Remember it said post-snap anxiety or something? I thought that was a cool little nod to it. And Big J, your thoughts on the post-credit, the first one?
Yeah, I think 100% is connected with the Eternals. And it's like the design is very similar, like the way they're doing the energies, what we saw in the trailer. And even like out there talking that it's very, very old. It's been on Earth for thousands of years. And that's what we also saw in the trailers. I think it might be a weapon because like in the comic books, the Celestials, they give weapons to kind of humans to protect themselves. So it might be one of the weapons. Might there be more weapons or something. So I think it's like a weapon, and it might even be that beacon that now was activated. Might be what we are seeing in the trailer, that they are asked why they didn't got involved before in so many things, and they say they've been told to just get involved if the deviants are to like in that. So this beacon of the rings might be what starts the Eternal movie. So I think 100% is going to be that. Like I don't know if Shang-Chi is going to be in the movie. He might show up in a after credit scene or something like that. But I think it's going to be linked with what's going on for sure. And again, the Hulk, I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt because we're going to have the show of the She-Hulk.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they're going to have to explain, because if you read the comic books, like the way she gets her powers is by a blood transfusion of him. And for him to do that blood transfusion, he needs to be in human form because he's not going to be able to do it any other way. So probably he's going to learn how to go back and forwards like in his form. I don't know, but I think we're going to see. And Captain Marvel, yeah, it was good to see her, but I don't know why anyone calls her, because she never knows shit.
Yeah. Never available, unavailable.
Every time she goes there to help with something, she's always like, I don't know. Look, it's obvious now that with Marvel, it's not the short game. It's a
Yeah.
we're probably gonna find some of these things out in a couple of years.
Very true. Very
That's
true.
the cool thing about Marvel is that like they are setting things up like ages before anything. We saw it in Infinity War when they talk about the explosion under the sea, under the ocean. That's probably going to set up Black Panther 2 with Namor. So that's the thing. They are setting up little things, and we never know what we're going to get. And that's pretty much what's cool about it. That's what they've been doing. And now with the TV shows, it's just another like time to play. And that's why I'm excited about Shang-Chi, because in the comic books, he's connected with almost everyone. He's like he taught Spider-Man how to fight kung fu. He was like with Moon Knight. He was connected with Heroes to Hire. That's like we talk about Luke Cage and all those. Daredevil because he fight at the end. So that's the thing. Now he can be someone. I think he's going to be someone really important in connecting all these stories, because he's in the comic books. He's kind of been connected with everyone, and even Daredevil. So there's a lot of space to go with him.
See, that's exciting news for me, someone that doesn't read the comics, to know that that could be potentially happening, you know, or coming to like a small screen or a big screen and stuff like that. So that's cool that they are kind of tying some of the connective tissue with some of the source material for the most part. I mean, would you guys say that they are kind of connecting it pretty well with the source material of the comics, or do you see it changing a little bit, or they're staying pretty close to it?
Well, I think at this point, you know, Marvel is almost its own genre in the sense that they don't really, again, they pay respects to the foundation of where the comics and the characters come from. But at this point, you know, I think, and it's not discrediting where the information, Stan Lee, you know, Jack Kirby, all those incredible, you know, illustrators that brought these characters to life. But I think at this point, Marvel is, I mean, literally Endgame is not based on like any comics. This is like based on Marvel. It's based on 10 years of films prior to that. So I think at this point of where they are, they don't have to like necessarily be beholden to a story from a comics. They can kind of take inspirations from it, but then obviously they have Ryan Coogler's of the world, you know, Chloe Childs of the world, the Russo brothers, to really bring in their sensibilities to bring these comics and bring it to more, because not everything from comics translates well to the big screen. So I think they've built enough confidence in this audience that they can kind of do what they want with the stories, as well as, you know, bring in inspiration from the comics. So
yeah, I think Elliot said everything. Like, look, most of these comics, like if you go and see the first version of the Mandarin in the comic books, if you Google it, you're just gonna laugh. It's ridiculous. Not even a carnival outfit would be like that. It's just so. So I think what they're being really, really good with is like knowing what will work in the new media. And I think sometimes that's the problem of DC, that they are not able to understand what will work and how will work in the media that's completely different. That comics, like we are getting a lot of things that we never thought we would get. Like Scarlet Witch, her outfit in the comics is completely ridiculous, and they were able to make it look really cool.
Yep.
But yeah, she's not going to be running around in a leotard. That, like, if you see the comics, it goes against the laws of physics. That you would never say like that. Like, no one would fight with that on. So the thing is, they've been really good. And I think the big advantage is we are talking about like 70, 80 years of stories. So they have so much that they can like cherry pick. They can steal a tiny bit from one place, a tiny bit from another. And that's also cool, because for us, people like that read the comics, we are still surprised because they're changing things. Because if it was exactly the same as the comics, everyone would know who the Sinister Six would be. Everyone would know what's going to happen, because we had the comics to say, oh, so this guy is going to show up. This guy. So they've been like doing a really good job of like getting inspiration and also playing that against us. And that's what I like. Sometimes that, like this thing of Mephisto is been the best example. They are making us, now they're making fun of us. They're playing with us.
Yeah.
And that's cool, because they know people are going obsessed looking on the internet and looking for clues. Look, if you look at the Spider-Man trailer, that everyone went crazy saying, "Oh, that's the arm of Matt Murdock, like as the Daredevil," and it's like that's what's their power. They're making everyone talking about their movies for free and making everyone excited about those movies. So they've been doing a great job. And like Elliot said, like Endgame is like something new. But if you read the comics, you can still find little bits that from the comics. And I, for one, will like whatever they put out. I'm gonna be watching.
Well said, guys. And lastly, let's get to that second post-credit scene. Your thoughts, guys. We'll start with Elliot with Xiling. Is that how you say it? Xiling, I believe. The sister who she remained a badass throughout the whole movie up until that post-credit scene. I thought she was someone that held on to that resentment even though her father had passed. And but yeah, there was no real closure if she was going to continue to do what she was going to do. I mean, she had to fend for herself since 16, I believe she said, or 15, 16, something like that. Or ever since her brother was, no longer coming back, she said. She started this whole underground fight thing. And I kind of thought that was cool because it showed that she was going to stay independent because that's all she knew. But what did you guys like, starting with Elliot, of the whole second post-credit scene? It went in a way different direction than the first post-credit scene, but what did you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, first it was interesting to see that the 10 rings will return versus like the character Shang-Chi's return. I mean, obviously he's going to return, but I was like, okay, so the 10 rings are definitely, as Big J said, it's probably something that might not happen in the next 6-7 months, but maybe in a couple years, whether it be, which I actually think with the 10 rings, I think it ties back to Iron Man, which this whole kind of, Mandarin and all this stuff ties from Iron Man. I think that we're going to probably see the 10 rings in Armored Wars, which is Rhodey's story, and seeing him going on a global level of Iron Man suits getting out there to the public. So I think that that's going to be a perfect way to see 10 rings. Again, going back to the very first time they were introduced was in the Iron Man film, and it would make sense that Rhodey has this continuing story with that organization. So I think that's a perfect way to bring in, which I'm not a fan of this character. For those that watch Falcon and Winter Soldier, we got introduced to the power broker. I think it would make sense that Sharon Carter is attached to the 10 rings, and she's one of those people that's doing the arm dealings, that's selling the suits, that's buying the suits and buying the guns and all that stuff. So I think the 10 rings, power broker, and then you mix in, which I think will be maybe a phase 5 villain, which again, as Big J said, this might be a long road in regards to where this goes. But all this stuff of, Iron Man suits, weapons, gun, all that machinery stuff ties into a particular character, and I'm excited for it. That's Doctor Doom. So I think that might be something that this might lead into a Doom Wars, and obviously going to maybe even further Black Panther 3 and having the war between Wakanda and Doctor Doom will be something looking forward to. So I think that this might be bigger implications for a future setup than like an immediate. We're going to see the 10 rings in the next film. I think that's going to be something a little bit later down the road to incorporate, again, Armored Wars, Ironheart, who is another character that's going to be, kind of taking on that Iron Man mantle. So I think there's a lot to look forward to regarding the 10 rings and maybe Doctor Doom.
Wow, there you go. Big J, what are your thoughts on the second post-credit scene that we got?
Yeah, I think now we're gonna start getting these post-credit scenes, and like the first one is kind of like the cinema one, it's kind of links, and the second one is for the TV shows. And I think this like the 10 rings is probably gonna be more for the TV shows, and I might even like, because one of the things that we still don't know is who's gonna be the villains of Moon Knight, and like being a guy that's like we're gonna need a lot of fight choreographies. I think he would fit really well with Moon Knight. So and going on what Elliot said, I'm almost like, but that's like one of my bets. I'm betting that Doctor Doom will be pulling the strings on Black Panther 2, because in the comic books, that like when we have the first fight with Namor and the Fantastic Four, is kind of like Namor doesn't know what he's doing. He's not really a bad guy. So I think he's probably going to be pulling the strings, and we're going to be seeing something like we saw in the first Marvel movies when we had Thanos in the shadows and kind of controlling. I think Doctor Doom is the perfect character to do that, to just be pulling the strings of everyone for like a phase or two, for a couple of years, and then getting like this big villain, because he might not be the most powerful one, but I think he's one of the most dangerous one. and because we know we're gonna get Kang for like probably the next movies also,
Right.
and probably we're not gonna get Doctor Doom for a while. But then there's talks also that they're doing the Secret Wars, and Kang and Doctor Doom and all those get involved. So look, there's a lot that's going to come. If we thought we had a lot of Marvel things coming out, it was the movies. Now with the TV shows and everything, it's a lot coming out. So there's enough space to show up all these characters, and it's going to be fun. Like it's going to be fun.
Well said, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Is there anything other thoughts you guys want to talk about, spoiler related for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings before we let you go?
No, I think we pretty much, at the end of the day, I'm excited for this new character in the MCU and to see him interact with other Avengers. I would love to see, as Big J said, him and Tom Holland. Because one thing about I love Spider-Man in the MCU, but he's not a brawler. He's not a fighter. I don't think he's even punched anyone in the MCU. He's always webbing people and all this stuff. So I would love for him to actually learn how to fight maybe, and that would be a great way to have Shang-Chi get into the mix. And like Big J said, a Moon Knight, the Midnight Suns, obviously with the more supernatural, darker elements of the MCU is definitely where I can see him introducing or being a part of that. And of course, we got Blade out there. So it's so much. Like Big J said, when everyone said Avengers Endgame, was like, okay, well, that's it. Like, no, we barely are scratching the surface with Phase 4 and Phase 5 as we Doctor Doom, Galactus, the Ancestral, all that stuff. It's like we've barely even scratched the surface. We haven't even talked about X-Men or Fantastic Four. So we got another 20, 30 years in the MCU, which gets me excited.
Yeah, that's how crazy it is. Look,
It's bananas, man.
Everyone was like saying, "Oh, Disney bought Fox just to get the X-Men and the Fantastic Four." Look, they spend all that money and they don't even need to touch it.
So crazy.
They just want to have it. It's like it's like those guys that have a car collection and they ride a car and they have 20 more. Look, it's the same thing. Like Elliot said, not even. Look, it's like you having Wolverine and doing nothing with it. That's like that. That's what any other company would kill to have one of those characters.
Yeah,
and they have them all, and they're not even they're just taking their time. And I think this is the only thing that I'm worried is that if we ever lose Kevin Feige, if the next guy comes, he's gonna want to make all the money in the world as fast as that, and not think that look. You need to think ahead and in the future. And I think that's what we need to say. Look, we took over 10 years to hear the words Avenger Assemble. That's how patient.
Slow burn.
Yeah, talk about slow burn. So I just want them to know that they have all this material to go for years and years and just take it easy. And until now, there's nothing at least we can say that they're doing a mistake, they're rushing it, they this, because they're taking their time working with characters like Shang-Chi. No one knows about him. What's their name? They're coming next. Not the Immortals.
The Eternals,
The Eternals.
Yeah, Jack Kirby, crazy. Crazy.
No one knows. Moon Knight. Look, it's all characters. They're not even. It's like they're not choosing the big ones. They're saving him for a rainy day. And now with Kenny Reeves, when it was his birthday and Marvel said happy birthday, it's the talks
Ghost Rider.
Yeah. So there's so much that is still coming. And I'm loving What If. I don't know.
Oh, it's fantastic. It is so amazing. Yeah.
I'm loving What If. That's the kind of show I want to see, and would love to see more of stuff like that.
Yes,
It's amazing in every single way. So yeah.
And one more thing to Jay's point to bounce off of that. That's so crazy that in the last 13 years they've been playing with their bench players. Like Iron Man is not a A-list character. Captain America and all them. They're not the biggest selling comic books. So the fact that they've been playing with their role players, and now the Spider-Mans, the X-Men's, the more worldwide known players, they're now being able to play with their A team. So that's the fact that they were able to for us to care about their bench players. Imagine what they're going to do with their A-list players. So like BJ said, we're just getting started with MCU.
Well, thank you guys so much for allowing me to pick your brain. I feel like I'm just watching, like I'm not even part of it. I'm just like watching like a video, like just you guys picking all this apart. This is great stuff, especially for people that don't know, about the comics or like the behind the, tying everything together. But this was a great, great little roundtable discussion. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I am going to be putting all their links down below for the social medias, YouTube's, Instagram, websites, whatever, so you guys can follow Big J Unyolo as well as Elliot at MovieFiles. So once again, make sure you guys are hitting that big thumbs up and subscribe to the channels, all of our channels, please, guys. And that'll be it. Till next time, we're gone. Peace.